Ladies, my fellow mommies, we are always so busy, on the go, kids screaming in the back seat, sleeping babies. I have the ultimate hack for you.
Welcome to the Stay Fit Mom Podcast with Krista and Tracy, your go-to girls for health, fitness, and keeping it real in mom life.
If you can't seem to get in a good groove with your nutrition and exercise program, this is for you.
We've coached thousands of women using macros for over 8 years, and I'm well known around here for my 5-day meal prep videos.
What does a macro balanced meal look like?
Hit subscribe to the Stay Fit Mom Podcast and join us for a fun, meaningful journey toward a healthier, happier you.
You got this, Mom.
Welcome to the podcast. We are so excited about this episode. It's all about goals. And Krista, I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you, but I am a goal girl. I love goals.
Well, that's perfect because I feel like I'm the opposite. I'm not I set goals, but I don't have big goals.
I don't know that I have big goals either, but I love to set one and do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about this all week, and I did come up with some that I have accomplished in the past and I want to set, so I think we'll be good. I'm excited to talk about some of the different ways to set goals and accomplish them, and yeah.
Awesome. But before we get into the goals episode, we are going to do something a little bit different. We have come up with some segments that we want to bring to our listeners. And the first segment is called The Last Time. Krista, tell us about the Last Time segment.
Well, we were just trying to think of some fun things to incorporate into the podcast each time we're on together. And we were brainstorming, and I thought, wouldn't it be so fun if each time we talked about the last time we did something? Whether that's the last time we went to Target, how much did you spend? Or the last time you, I don't want to give away all the good ones we have planned, but
we have a lot of good ones. Some of them are a little racy, but today's last time is the last time you were influenced and made a purchase. Krista, you are the queen of influencing other people to make purchases, but I want to know what you have been influenced by others.
The most recent purchase I made came 2 days ago. I gave in and bought some of that fun lip stain that I've been seeing all over TikTok. Is it just me? Have you seen this?
I haven't seen lip stain, but I need you to tell me about it.
I keep seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, that looks fun. McKenna is into all those things, and it came in 2 days, and it's fun. It reminds me a lot.
Like
it's like a lip gloss. You put it on, and some people just put it on as liner. Some people cover the whole lip, and you let it dry for 10 minutes, and it peels off, and you've got a nice color for the whole day. As long as you exfoliate your lips first, I've already learned in the 2 days that I've tried it.
Okay, hold on a minute. You've got to peel off this stain. You peel it off.
You might have to get it for fun for you and Cayman. Yes, comes in all different colors. I just got whatever was available on Amazon, but I was influenced by lots of people on TikTok.
I can't wait to see you on stories with the lip stain. You better give us a full review. Did you go bold or muted?
I just got one of the basic colors, nothing bold. But Chad did notice when I had it on. He's like, whoa, look at those lips. Anyway, what about you?
Okay, well, this purchase, let's just say it's still in the box.
It's not your Instant Pot. I know that.
It's not my Instant Pot. I use that. That's a good one. I got the little green upholstery cleaner. Do you have one of those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it like a little handheld vacuum thing?
Yes, but it's for upholstery because you might not remember, Krista, but right when we moved into this house, we got a white couch. Do you remember this?
Yes. I remember thinking that is brave.
It was dumb, was what it was. You should have said, Tracy, don't do that. And I did it anyway because it really went with the aesthetic. You know, It looked so beautiful. 6 kids later, it looks terrible. I can't wait to get a new one.
So have you tested out the little green thing?
No, it's still in the box. It's still in the box, but I'm going to test it out. I'm going to put it on my stories and try and see if it was a good move or not.
You could always get a cover, right, for your couch?
Oh,
you thought about that?
No, I don't know.
Well, that was fun. What's the next one?
Next segment is what's cooking this week. And Krista, you are the inspiration for what we're all cooking a lot of the time, but what are you eating with your family this week? Or what was the best meal you ate this past week?
That's easy. I made white chicken chili a couple nights ago, and I forget how much I love that one. It's a really old recipe. It's called The Best White Chicken Chili on stayfitmom.com. And it's just really delicious. We put Fritos on it and avocado, and so easy and so good. That's the best thing that I had this week.
Perfect this time of year too.
So what about you? What's the best thing you had this past week?
One of my meals that I'm really loving, and I don't even know if this is on the blog, but it's the garlic butter kebabs, the steak kebabs.
For monthly macro meals.
Yes, but I love them because my kids love steak
Yeah.
and they're pretty easy. I paired the kebabs with the classic mac and cheese
Mm.
and a salad, and it was just
Made that one in a
perfect.
while.
Yeah,
Nice.
love that one.
So your kids just like a simple meal like that. They probably like anything you make.
I think that they do prefer the separates to the
Mhm.
casserole, but I throw the casseroles in there all the time. And they eat them too, but they get really excited when it's separates like that.
Yeah.
Okay, last segment is the mom Q&A, the Krista and Tracy way. And this is just people write in for advice. And this one I got off the Ninja Insider page, Krista.
Okay.
This
They
is a
give you
good
the
one.
idea or you put the questions in there?
They just wrote this in, and I was like, this is a great question. So we're just going to cover it a little bit more in detail. It says, "Hi, I had my macros calculated for me back in September, and I feel good with them. 138 protein, 155 carb, 59 fat. I'm losing a sustainable amount of weight, and it's plenty of food. I tend to go over on a little fats more than carbs, but I still keep it right at 1,700 calories. My A1C crossed the threshold into pre-diabetes by zero point 0.1 back in May. My doctor wanted to retest in 3 months. Well, despite being 16 pounds down, the results were exactly the same. My doctor was pleased that I was getting 138 grams of protein, but said he would prefer if my carbs be under 120 grams a day. How do I adjust for this? Do I add a little more protein and fats to keep the calories the same, or just take away the carbs, leaving the protein and fats the same and have a greater deficit? Or just keep doing what I'm doing, knowing that the doctors don't really receive a lot of training in nutrition and hope further weight loss gets the A1C down?"
My initial thoughts are if your doctor is telling you you need to eat 120 carbs, I would put them in 120. I wouldn't necessarily raise my protein, but I'd increase my fats. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If it's sustainable for her and she can stick to it. Of course, we always recommend people pair their protein with any carbs they're going to eat, which I think 120 carbs, if you're eating a lot of vegetables, that shouldn't be too difficult.
I said, I wouldn't recommend cutting your calories any further. You know it's working. You're
Right.
down 16 pounds.
Yeah, the
And
calories
so,
definitely should not go down.
right, she's doing it right.
If her AC1 levels aren't doing what they need to do. I think in the long run, it should possibly catch up. I'm not a doctor.
It's just tricky in general. We get this question a lot just about doctors. My doctor says I should do this. Doctors are trained to find a solution to the problem, not I
Find the
don't know how to
underlying
say it.
issue necessarily.
Yeah, and they don't look at it from a holistic perspective. This is the one problem. I'm going to treat it with this medicine. My fear is if she keeps cutting those calories, and I guess we could say we're on the same page about not cutting her calories
Right.
anymore.
Right. But I
And
don't think
so
120 grams of carbs, that is not that extreme. I'm thinking about doctors who recommend these low carb diets. They're telling people to eat 30 carbs a day. So
yeah,
120 carbs, I think you can make that work.
you could make that work. I gave her 3 things to do first. I would do these 3 things before you jump to just cutting the carbs, which was if you're hitting your macros 13 out of 14 days regularly, that's a good sign. And then I also told her to watch her fiber intake. Not all carbs are created equal. You don't want to have the simple sugars. You want to have whole
Right.
grains.
I feel like the lower your carbs are, the harder it is to eat the simple carbs. I feel like you're almost forced to do better with your
That's a good
carbohydrates, right?
point.
You're gonna pick more vegetables and your fiber is probably gonna be a little bit higher, which is good.
Right. But sometimes it's hard to hit that 25 gram if you don't have like Safe at Mom pinto bean recipe. That's such a great high fiber recipe, but it is going to take a decent amount of your carbs up, you
Right.
know? And so just basically that fiber check is such a litmus of your food quality. And then also telling her to make sure she exercised and move at least 15 to 25 minutes a day after she ate, because that just helps so much with regulating those glucose levels and that A1C level. And then I told her to read Glucose Revolution, which is the book that we talked about that basically address exactly what she's talking about, which is how to avoid your A1C levels going up and all that. So let's get into the goal segment, Krista.
Okay.
Let's just start with personal stories. What's a personal goal that you've accomplished that surprised you, or how has goal setting impacted your life?
I've been thinking a lot about this week, about big goals I've set. I feel like we all go through different stages of life. I don't feel like I'm setting any huge goals at this particular moment. You know, when I had my babies, that was you were just goal driven to lose the baby weight postpartum. That was a time in my life when I was setting weight loss goals, when I was in the CrossFit gym and seeing PRs, and it was easy to set goals. Like, I want to back squat 200 pounds. At this particular time in my life, I'm not trying to lose any postpartum weight, or I'm not hitting any PRs in the gym. So it's been a little bit harder on that end. But I have, in the last few years, I've been setting a lot of goals on the business side of my life. Not necessarily goals, but also they blur for me with habits and creating new habits. But I was thinking back on last year, and one of my big goals, without really even realizing it, was to just get organized with my QuickBooks. And one of the biggest stresses in my life when it comes to our business is taxes and money, and making sure I'm putting money where it needs to go. And it was just a huge stress on myself personally. And so I hired someone to help me organize my QuickBooks. And it took me a good year because I had to clean up the previous year. Anyway, I figured it out. I'm in a great place now. That was a huge thing I checked off my list this past year that has made just a huge difference and relieved so much stress for me.
That's such a good one. I feel like that's the equivalent of the junk drawer that you just want to shut and you don't want to
Yes.
look at. Oh, if it's in the closet, we won't see it and I'll just worry
Mhm.
about that later. But then it causes all this anxiety in
Right.
your
And
life.
you have to do your taxes at the end of the year. And I would always stress about it. And I would just sit down. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I always made the joke, I hope I don't go to jail. But yeah, I finally have it all figured out. I know what I'm doing. And I'm not even stressed about tax season coming in the spring.
So the person that you hired, is the
Mhm.
tax person that you're using?
Yeah, Megan, she used to come to our CrossFit gym. She just helped me organize my QuickBooks, how to use it properly. And of course, we have our tax person too. Little plug for Megan. She's great. Numbers by Megan on Instagram. She can help you out. What about you?
I didn't spend the week thinking about goals and what I've hit. But I feel the same as you in terms of it is just harder when you get to that maintenance point in your journey where I could always lose 5 to 10 pounds. I
Right.
could for sure lose 5 to 10 pounds, but it's not the forefront of my mind like it was when I had gained all the baby weight. But simple things that I have done this year, I have been really vigilant about exercising 5 days a week. I kind of started that at the end of the year
Mhm.
because I would just see myself pushing it off. I would do, oh, if I have time, I'll do 3 days, hopefully, and it was such a buildup in my mind too versus it doesn't matter what it is, just go out there and do something for 30 minutes.
Right.
Mentally, that's helped me a lot, and physically, I just feel so much better.
Yeah.
So, that was a big one, and then on our home front, Chris and I are goal setters too with our finances, and we've checked off big goals for our finances this year. I was talking about this with Lindsay Van Sickle a couple of weeks ago on the Habits podcast. It just feels like once you reach a goal, it's never as satisfying as you think it's gonna be. You're never like, "Wow, I'm just gonna ride that high for the rest of my life."
Yeah. I do like that you said your first goal you mentioned about working out 5 days a week, that you did start it too long ago, like halfway through the year. So it's the beginning of the year. How do you feel about setting a new goal come January 1st? I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to go from 1 to 1,000. How do you feel about that?
I will go 1 to 1,000, and then I will burn and crash
Mhm.
eventually. But I like to ride that high until I get
Yeah.
there. What about you?
I'm all about the new year, new you. After I had McKenna, I think the timing just worked out. I had her early December, and I remember thinking, okay, come January 1st, I'm going to do it. And I did. And it took 18 months to lose 65 pounds. But I think that new year motivation only takes you so far. Chad, my husband, is very much the 1 to 1,000. Come the new year, I'm going to cut my macros back drastically and I'm going to do all these extravagant things. So I'm definitely more on the conservative side. Just set one goal to get started and build on that. That's what I recommend. But whatever gets someone motivated and started, I think is most important.
I was talking about maintenance with your weight in general and how when you are on the downhill with your weight loss journey and things are going well, that's easier than I think when you've reached the goal and then you have to try and stay there. It's
Mhm.
easier to either be on the downhill or the uphill, but staying
Yeah.
there is really, really hard. And so I can totally identify with Chad.
A few years ago, I set a New Year's resolution to do a date night at least once a month. I wasn't really accountable to anybody on it, but it did get us in a better habit of making sure we do date nights because for a long time there, I mean, our kids were younger too. We just didn't make the time for it.
That's a
And
good one.
yeah, so that's been great the last couple of years.
I was thinking I have some goals over this holiday break. By the time people listen to this, it'll be January. But one goal that I have is to wash my kids' sheets over the break. And I have to like make it a goal and put it on the list, or else it will never get done. That's just an example of I have to be so intentional about those kinds of things, or get out the green machine and actually do the couch.
Maybe you should teach your kids to use it.
Yes, maybe I should. That's a good
I feel like
idea.
that's something older kids might love to like put together and figure out.
It's probably satisfying too. I would
Well,
hope if it
I
doesn't.
think that thing's probably gonna be so fun. You better put it on Instagram, the before, during, and after of this
Okay.
couch.
Okay, I like it. One of the things that we've done so many blog posts on Stay Fit Mom on goal setting specifically, and there's a couple of things that come to mind. One of them is SMART goals, and that I'm sure people have heard this acronym, that the goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound.
Like, instead of saying, "I wanna get fit," that's not really
Yes.
what is fit. How are you gonna measure that? When
Yes.
do you have to be fit by? Which I don't think is a good goal, by the way, to just
Instead, set the goal of I want to work out in my garage gym 5 days a week, putting the process over the final result. So then, Krista, what do you think? I kind of talked about how I'm a crash and burner. I'm like 100 and then I crash and burn. So I feel like you are more steady for sure. Why do these resolutions fail, and how do we avoid these mistakes?
Well, I think it ties right in with the SMART goals you just went over. Did they set an attainable goal? Are they accountable to anybody? I feel like a lot of people's New Year's goals are health and fitness related, right? Hiring a Stay Fit Mom macro coach, you are accountable to them. And that just makes all the difference. You need to make sure you're sharing your goals with people, make it known. I do so much better when I have something where I see it, I can check things off the list. Share your goals, check them off the list, make sure they're measurable, all the things we just talked about.
Yeah. I love that list idea. And Chris and I did that when we were paying off our house, and we had every month the balance of the mortgage, and then we'd cross it off and put the new number up there. It was so satisfying.
Yes, it's very much like the Google trackers for our clients. They love to see those green boxes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that makes all the difference.
So how do you pivot then when life throws something unexpected at you? Like, things are going to happen where you have this plan of working out 5 days a week or whatever it is. And
Yeah,
then,
I follow this gentleman on TikTok. I can't think of his name, but I was watching a video the other day. He shared about what he's learned from fit people over the years. He used to own a gym, and he's like, fit people, they're very consistent and they expect that things are going to be thrown their way, and they pivot and they are ready for it, and they keep their health and fitness a priority, and they make time to do the things that are important and to stay healthy. I just think, especially as moms, it's so hard. Just always knew that anything could happen. My kids could be up in the night sick and I wouldn't get much sleep. And
yeah. And I think not letting self-sabotage creep in, like that visual of just because you have one tire that's flat, you're not going to go and slash your other 3 tires, right? Like you've got to just fix the problem and get right back to it.
yeah.
Not throw
And
the baby out with bathwater.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we already said be prepared. The car might not start in the morning and you can't go to the gym. Walk the neighborhood or just something else that you can do.
That's a great one, actually. You might not have gotten in your 1 hour workout at the gym, but instead of just not doing anything, you went for a walk or whatever it was. You pivoted and you made a choice, even if it wasn't the best option, you still made something of it.
When I would set big goals in the past, health and fitness related goals, one of the things that I always would tell myself over and over is every single decision matters. And if you want to hit that big goal, you have to make every single day count. So if you skip the gym because something comes up, that's just prolonging that end result.
All right. So, what's one big goal that you have for 2025, Krista, and how do you plan to tackle it?
I was a little stressed, like, oh my gosh, I have to set a goal this year because we're doing a podcast on goal setting. So I was thinking, and this is great. This is good for me. I need to do it. There has been something I have been meaning to start contributing to 401ks for like 3 years. Tracy, I opened up 401ks for myself and all my kids 3 years ago, and I'm so excited. I was like, I did it. I guess that was a goal that year, but you also have to contribute. You have to connect the bank accounts. So I guess this comes back to my issues with money. I just stress about it. it's time to actually start putting money in those accounts. That's my goal this year. And I know how I'm going to attain it. My brother-in-law, he already said, just come up to Washington for the weekend. This is my older sister's husband. He's very much into investing and all these things. And he's like, and we will just sit down and do it and I'll help you. He helped me set them up. So he's always offered to help. And I just need to actually make it happen.
That's amazing.
That's a goal for me this year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's
Okay.
measurable, it's attainable, it's specific.
Yes.
So
That's a really good
not
one.
you.
Okay, so I have to share this. Don't you feel like Stay Fit Mom is your extra child that you take care of, right? You have all your children and then you have your Stay Fit Mom child. And I feel like the Stay Fit Mom child takes up a big portion of my brain too, you know? And so one of the things that I'm like, I have got to get a handle on this. I've thought about this for a while. My Instagram is kind of all over the place. It just is. I got a lot of directions going on. And it's funny because I've always thought that, but then you remember that viral thing that was going around that was like, ask Chat GTP to roast your Instagram feed
Oh,
in one paragraph. Okay, I gotta read it to you because it's so spot on.
Oh, geez.
It's pretty spot on. It says, your Instagram feed looks like it's having an identity crisis. One day it's fitness guru central, and the next it's a chaotic buffet of mismatched fillers and half-hearted captions. Are you a coach, a foodie, or just really into posting blurry workout selfies? Pick a lane, stick to it, because right now your feed looks more like a scrapbook of random thoughts than a cohesive, inspiring page. A little consistency wouldn't hurt. Maybe try planning your content instead of winging it like a Friday night Netflix binge.
Oh my goodness. I don't know that I agree with all of that. I mean, the purpose was to roast you. I don't remember the last time you were posting blurry workout selfies.
Yeah, that was a little,
selfies at all.
that was a little silly. But I was just thinking, I need somebody to like help me get my content scheduled out. We have so many areas where we're putting up content. We're putting up content on the podcast. We're putting it on the website. We're putting it on Instagram. We're putting it on TikTok. And I just feel like my goal for 2025 is to get some sort of calendar or just like
So
a
I mean, like a
schedule. Yes.
Not that it can't be multiple different things. I mean, I love seeing the family stuff that you do.
I
Day in
know.
the life. I loved that the other day. I want to
that,
know
like-
what your life is like with 6 kids. I mean, it just seems crazy to me how you balance it all with tracking macros and eating balanced. And
But I do feel like in general, I am much more of a, oh, I haven't posted a reel in 2 weeks. I better think of something to put up there today. And that's just not the best.
oh, okay. So, what's your specific goal then? Like, how are we going to measure this?
Let's talk about it. Let's help me with this.
So you just want to come up with a posting schedule, maybe?
A posting schedule would help. And especially if the posting schedule was strategic. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
I
so
need
hard
to
to be strategic with
it is. It is. But we start new one-on-one coaching groups at the beginning of every month, and that's intense. It seems like every month comes so quickly. It comes so quickly, and then we're trying to fill these spots, you know?
Right. Whenever anybody is thinking about trying macros or joining a nutrition program, so many people are ready to start right now. You don't want to wait 3 months.
Right.
We don't want people to have to wait 3 months. So obviously that's why we start them every month. But yeah, I get what you mean.
So I guess that I need to, almost like I do with meal planning. I'm just so on it with meal planning. And that would be a great goal. If your struggle is I am floundering every day at dinner and I can't get my macros under control because I can't plan that far, I identify with that. But it's on the content creator side because my meal planning, I've got a system. I have got a system in place.
Maybe you just need to do a monthly, like each
Yes.
month. I'm going to make a list of what you want to do each month. Make sure you do one reel on this, one family reel, one, I don't know, whatever you come up with. And then you can check it off the list each month.
Right. And I feel like just being intentional about it, obviously there's a creative piece where you have to do the trends. There's a creative piece that goes with it that I think just being intentional and knowing the posting schedule will also help with that.
Yes. I mean, I think just having a posting schedule in general, and then with the trends when you feel inspired, and then I checked that one off the list. I'm going to use this trend or whatever.
Yes.
Great. And I don't think your Instagram is terrible at all.
You have to say that. You're my work wife. It's like the mom's opinion that does not matter. One other thing that we could talk about is word of the year. Have you ever thought about that, Krista? We haven't prepped for this.
I know all about it. I know you do it.
It's kind of a theme. It's the opposite of SMART goals. It's like, it's not measurable. It's not something that you're going to check but
Yes.
it's kind of an overarching theme. I'm a good 10,000 viewpoint girl. I can see big picture. When I get out into the weeds and the details, that's kind of overwhelming to me. So my words of the year in the past have been focus. And I would think about that when I felt so frazzly. It would just help me snap back into whatever. This last year, my word was boundaries.
Okay, yes, I remember you talking about that. Yes.
And that has been really good for me. I think to a lot of people, boundaries means you can't do things, but really I'm juggling so much. But having the boundary of, okay, a podcast goes up every other Thursday, that means I have to therefore do this, do this. It's like just a boundary put in your life that kind of dedicates your time to certain things.
This makes me think of it's okay to say no. It's okay to
Yeah.
set boundaries and have priorities. That's a
Yeah.
good one. So do you have a word in mind for 2025?
I feel like a word that keeps coming to me is the word student, which is so random, but I keep seeing it and I keep thinking about it. I have 4 middle schoolers right now. In my personal life, I'm a life group leader to 7th grade girls. I teach homeschool Bible study to middle schoolers, their students. But then also one thing that I've loved that I've done this year is incorporated this 10 pages of reading. I think I've told you about this, Krista. With 75 Hard, you're reading 10 pages every single day, which feels like nothing. It's such a short amount of reading, but I was able to plow through so many books just reading 10 pages a day. Being a learner, being a student, and then that tying in with the phase of life that we're just also in with raising students.
Yeah. I feel like calm. I don't know why I'm drawn to that word in this 5 minutes we've been talking about having a word. I'm so excited to move into our new home in the spring. And I keep thinking, I can't wait for life to slow down. I'm tired of the chaos. I mean, look at my house.
I was just thinking that I wish that the listeners could see the back of your screen because
I'd
it
be
has so
terrified.
many boxes piled up. There's just
Yeah,
stuff
it feels like
everywhere.
Christmas boxes. And I don't even have to hide anything from my kids because they just think it's all house boxes. But yeah, calm. And I'm so excited to turn the house into a home, to move in and to have cozy spaces and to not have so much clutter everywhere. I don't know. So maybe that's my word for
I
2020.
love it. I cannot wait to come visit you in your new calm house. I think it's a great word for you.
Yep, that's it.
Peace, calm, peace.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's great.
This was
Yeah.
fun. I accomplished more goals than I realized having to record this podcast and think about it. And I don't know, it makes me feel
Okay,
good.
one more tip that I feel like people just need to know about this that I have been using, and you can tell me if you're using as much as I am. I'm to the point where I'm using Chat GPT just about every single day.
Wow.
Every day I'm using Chat GPT.
That's pretty impressive. I will say I've been using it more and more, not every day. I think you kind of have to learn how to use it. The last time I used it, actually, I was just telling Kim, who helps me with the blog, I was putting the monkey bread post together and I was like, what things should I make sure to include on this blog post? And I was like, well, like different ways to make or different inclusions for monkey bread. And I went to Chat GTP and I was like, what are some different variations of monkey bread? And it gave me a list. And I was like, this is amazing.
It's amazing. From a
I saw
content creator perspective, it is amazing. But
Yes.
I've also been using it in my personal life a lot. Like, we invited some friends over to work out, and I was like, "I'm just gonna give me a CrossFit style workout for 4 people that involves these pieces of equipment." Boom. It gave me a workout. I mean, it was a one-trick pony because we tried it again and it was no good. But at
Yeah.
least we got it for that.
I used it. I thought this was really cool. So at Christmas time, McKenna mentioned the elf. I was hoping she forgot about it or maybe
Right.
she knew. I couldn't find the elf. I'm sure. I don't know. You might remember I was talking about on Instagram and I ended up going to Goodwill, found one. And I was like, what am I going to do? This is the 3rd elf now. So I went to Chat GTP and I was like, please write me a letter from Santa explaining to my kids why their first 2 elves are not here and they have a new elf and that they need to name it. And anyway, it wrote me this letter. And I just went to Canva and found a cute template from the North Pole. I printed it. It took me 5 minutes. It was amazing. I
Oh my gosh,
was
a
really
template.
impressed with Chat GTP that night.
One more thing that I've used it for is, and I know you've done this too, is to plan a family trip.
Yeah, we used it we were gonna go all over Europe and go to Greece. We wanna make sure to go to Switzerland, plan us a 3-week trip, and we were looking at it and brainstorming, but that was cool.
So
Told us exactly what to do.
Yes. So this summer we want to take a little road trip up them, and there were key points that we want to see. We want to see the monuments in DC. We want to see the Ark and the Creation Museum in Kentucky, and we want to go to Asheville with the kids. Anyway, we have these bucket lists, and it just showed you, oh, go here. You can narrow it down, make it more specific. Like, I want to spend 2 days there, and the trip is 14 days total, and give me a different route on this end or whatever. It's just so easy to go back and forth with.
It is pretty cool.
Anyway.
Scary cool.
Yeah, right. Just another tip there. Just use ChatGPT for your goal setting for 2025.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our
That was fun.
episode. We have talked about so many different things today, but we are going to link all the resources that you could ever need, whether that is setting a SMART goal, your systems and your processes, your word of the year, everything that you could possibly need for resources when it comes to goal setting. We are going to have up for you in the show notes. Thanks for listening.
That was fun. Bye.
We appreciate you tuning in to the Stay Fit Mom podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media and head to stayfitmom.com for more resources and tips. You've got this. See you next time.